Hi kids, it's Miss Deidre from EVSC and Easter Seals, and we're here today to work on another occupational therapy activity that you can do at home with materials that you have laying around there to work on. The first thing we're going to work on is shoe tying. If this is still a goal that you have, you can make something simple like this with just a piece of paper and a shoe drawn out and some holes punched in. Your parents would probably have to help you make this. And then some old shoestrings lying around. You can also obviously use your own shoe. What's nice about this is it has the two different colored shoelaces to help you learn the positioning of the laces as you learn to tie. And then you're basically just going to work on laying it out in front of you. That first step is making that X with the laces. And obviously you're going to have this laying on the table. I'm trying to hold it so you can see. But that first step is always just making that X, crossing under and pulling. And then just remember your rhyme for shoe tying. You're going to make a tree. And remember to keep that color separate. Bunny runs around the tree. And then as you can see where that hole opened up from him running around the tree is where you're going to want to make him, I'm trying to do this where you can see, jump in the hole there, and then this is where you have to switch hands. So this hand drops its loop, grabs that blue loop, the other one will grab the other colored loop, and somebody pulls his ears. And that's an easy rhyme to try to master, to remember this. Meeting your goal with shoe tying really is just about practicing until your little hand muscles learn the muscle memory of how it looks. There also is the other technique. Some kids think it's harder, some kids think it's easier, where you just make the two bunny ears, you cross them. Again, you're kind of jumping in the hole. He jumps in the hole and you pull. And there's also that technique you can use to learn it that way. But again, I do like the, if your parents have two different colored shoelaces laying around that you can cut apart and then tie together in the back like I did to make one big long shoelace. It's a lot easier to find your steps and pieces and remember where they're going like that. And that's your tying goal. If your parent has time to sit down with you and it's hard to master all steps at once, the best thing to do is to have your parent get you to the very last step and start with that. So parents, you get them all the way to the point where it's through the hole, and then they just work several times on just pulling the ears tight, and have them do like 5 times until you feel like they've mastered that. After that, again, working backwards, you'll get them to this step and they'll work on just jumping the bunny in his hole and then retying his ears. So those 2 steps, continuing working backwards until you feel like they've mastered the entire skill. Working on your buttoning. An easy way to work on at least the fine motor strength and skill to do this is just take a piece of craft foam and cut some little slits in it. And you want to cut them smaller than the actual buttons. Hopefully you have some buttons laying around you can use. And cut it smaller so that they really have to get the strength mastered and the skill mastered. So then what you're going to do is just practice literally like you would buttoning, taking it through one side and then working on having their other hand finish pulling it through that side. And again, this basically just breaks down that skill of learning to push it into the hole, and that the other hand has to then, use that what we call bilateral coordination to pull it all the way through with that. And the last thing you can work on is your zipping skills. This is hard for a lot of kids. Now I have cut up a jacket just because it's hard for us to transport things around schools. You can just obviously use your own jacket to work on that. It is easier to work on at first with it laying in front of them, just on the table, not on them, but on the table in front of them, and just mastering that, lining up those pieces together, holding at the bottom firmly and pulling. And then once they've mastered it on the table in front of them, again, then they can work on having them put it on. Or if you have an old jacket that you want to cut up, this is easy to do because you just stick it on their shoulders and practice. And then again, it's literally just working on that skill of lining up the zipper into the insert and remembering to hold down here with one hand. Again, it's that bilateral coordination skill, 2 hands working together. One hand has to hold at the bottom while the other one pulls. If they seem to be having a hard time getting the grasp intact of holding that to pull, you can do something like adding a zipper pull, like taking a zipper, a zip tie and putting it on there till they get mastered the strength of pulling it up, or even one of these little office supply O-rings, fastening that on there just until they get mastered what that feels like to pull that up, and it gives them an extra something to hold on to until they have the motor plan complete, and then you can remove that when they're done. I hope you've enjoyed that segment of working on fine motor skills that you need for self-help skills at home. See you later.